boy! Hello, I am Megan and welcome to Battle Royale with Cheese, the site where you can get all of your TV and film news, reviews and trailers. Alien Romulus follows a group of people as they travel to an old Wayland spaceship to collect a few cryopods. However, they discovered once there that the universe's most perfect organism is waiting for them. So I have just seen this film. It has taken me a few days, so I do apologise for that, but I'm very glad that I did. I love the first two Alien films. The third one I think is interesting in terms of its behind the scenes and what was going on there. And then Alien Covenant I also really like. I think Prometheus is an interesting one and I think does deserve to be remembered and actually be talked about. But it wasn't one that I personally enjoyed, but I think it is important, and especially important for this film. And I thought this was fantastic. The film was produced by Ridley Scott, who did the original films, as well as being directed by Fede Alvarez, who did Don't Breathe, and the 2013 Evil Dead remake, which both the films are fantastic. So I never really had any doubts in my mind about this film, but wow, my expectations were high and they were met, and more so. This was fantastic and really deserves to be put in with the original films and blends in really well with the original films. Like, this is a really worthy sequel to the first film. Plus, it also goes back to the roots of the original film, and the marketing was really good for this too, by having the title sequence replicate the original film, as well as its atmospheres, lighting, its tone. But it goes back to basics by essentially being a haunted house film in space. Which is what the original film was. And actually, I think this is the best thing that the franchise could have done, and this is the best thing that Romulus could have done too. This is the best direction it could have taken itself in, because it really, really works. Everything is stripped back to basics. It's just a group of people find a spaceship, they go onto it, and there you go. All hell breaks loose and mayhem ensues, which is probably a very soft and understatement to use to describe the film, but yeah, it was very effective, and I really appreciate them actually going back to basics, not doing anything too complicated, just here's a simple concept, here we go for 2 hours. Like previously mentioned, I have said the marketing for this film was really, really good, but actually the marketing carried over into the film in terms of this really wears its influence and its Alien 1 influence on its sleeve. So the lighting, the atmosphere, the setting is all very reflective of the original film. You know, you've got very quiet, long corridors that's clearly been abandoned for quite a long time. It really shows, as well as having this dark lighting a lot of the time, as well as the tension that comes with the original film. This is also the same, and it replicates that perfectly. Like, this is the most tense, weirdly enough, next to Twisters, but in a different way. Like, this is the most tense I've been in a cinema in a very long time. And that's something that I can really appreciate. Like, this was a very tense film. It had some really good scares in it. And yeah, it definitely knows what it's influenced by. Is it a little bit too much like the original film? That's going to be up to you guys to decide. I don't think so. I think it definitely offers something new to the franchise, and I won't spoil anything. This is going to be a bit of a difficult one to talk about in terms of some things, but I've tried my best not to spoil it. But I will just say the trailers don't show you anything. They really show you nothing, and this is another way in which I think the marketing was really good for the film, is that, yeah, the trailers probably show you like 2% of what happens in the film, which I think is a good way round to go about with it. Another thing that I think is really good is the practical effects. So the film does use a lot of practical effects, a lot of like actual costumes for the xenomorphs, for the face huggers. So there is behind the scenes footage of the face huggers circulating on social media, where they essentially just turned into remote control props. And that's what the face huggers are, which I think is the best way to go for this. And then they used CGI to further enhance that, which, yeah, like I just said, I think is the best direction to go for this and the best way around to do this. I think CGI can be good depending on the film, but I think for this, practical effects work so much better. And it was very, very effective. The xenomorphs looked fantastic. The face huggers looked terrifying and at times gross and grotesque. They really upped the grossness of this, as well as showing that these things are still a real threat. And it's not just the visuals that are really gross and grotesque, but also the sound design is really, really good. There isn't much music. It's there when it really needs to be to enhance a situation, so a chase scene. It's used to enhance the urgency of a situation, but it's only there when it really needs to be there. Most of this film is sound design, is sound effects, and that is really well done too, because it further elevates the horror. The amount of times I was expecting a jump scare and it did not happen. But again, that really works. It's very, very effective. It's a very simple tactic to use, but it's used to great effect. And like I mentioned earlier, there are some things that this film actually does that I have not seen in this franchise before. One thing involving anti-gravity. Don't worry, I won't mention it. I'm not going to spoil things. But I do appreciate that despite them going with a very similar concept to the original film, they still had new things to offer, which I think is great. It makes it stand out as a new entry, but also fits really well with the original franchise. Plus, there are a couple of cameos and references to the original franchise, as well as to a few of the games, which surprised me as well. And a very prominent cameo actually had to use de-aging technology, which that was fantastic. I know that with Marvel and with Star Wars, we've gotten used to seeing de-aging technology, plus this is 20th Century Fox, so this is owned by Disney. So they've got that Disney money to further enhance their de-aging technology within the film, and it works to great effect. It was really, really well done. And it was a nice surprise to see this cameo. And it wasn't just a throwaway cameo, it's actually integral to the plot. There is a reason why this cameo is here, and I'm glad that it wasn't just a throwaway thing or just a, oh, look at this. There was a reason why this was here. The only thing I didn't really like about Alien Romulus was, I mentioned that the lighting is actually used to great effect. There's a lot of darkness, and they do some really interesting things with the use of shadows, especially when the xenomorphs first come into the film. They do some great things and great sequences with the shadows, but it's mainly in the third act I thought that actually the dark lighting was a bit too much. There was definitely a lot of the third act that I unfortunately couldn't actually see. But that's my only criticism, to be honest. Alien Romulus was fantastic, and I'm really happy that I finally got to see it. Even if it was a few days late, I'm really, really happy that I got to see it. I think it really fits in with the franchise and fits right in with the original film, as well as giving us some new ideas that we haven't seen within the franchise. Plus, the setting, the characters, the atmosphere was incredible, especially seeing it in a cinema. Guys, if you want to go see this film, go see this film in a cinema. Go see it on the biggest screen possible. I think there's IMAX showings. I don't know if the UK is doing IMAX showings, but if there is one, go see it on an IMAX screen. Even if you're not going to see it in 3D, go and see it on an IMAX screen, because that will be the biggest screen. Because that will look incredible. That will look amazing. And the film does also have references and cameo, but they all felt like they fitted in. They all had a purpose for being there, which is something I really, really appreciate. It wasn't just a throwaway thing. They weren't just throwaway references. They were important to the plot. They had a reason for being there, and they blended in really well because of that. So yeah, I really enjoyed Alien Romulus, but have you guys seen it? What did you think about it? But I was Megan. This is Battle Royale with Cheese. See you soon.